Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always, and what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to do a little Spanish mackerel catch, clean, and cook. Stick with me, you're going to enjoy this. Okay guys, first things first. I'll say that I don't use a lot of cut bait or live bait when I'm surf fishing. I'd say 95% of the time I use artificials. It just fits my style of fishing. I like to keep moving. I like to cover a lot of water. The same way when I freshwater fish, like bass fishing, I like to power fish. I like to find those active fish. I like to keep moving. So I like to throw those artificials. When I'm targeting Spanish mackerel, I like to use fast moving baits, and I'll show you some of those in just a second. And I'll also say there's always three things I'm looking for. If I can find all three together, it's usually going to be a pretty good area. Number one, I'm looking for a rip current, or at least some type of different moving current other than just beach break. I'm looking for those troughs and those sandbars, something that forms a rip, maybe around the end of a point, something of that nature. I'm looking for bait fish flipping and working. And I'm looking for either fish blowing up or birds working on those bait fish, because if you know the lions are never far from the gazelles. So if you can find those gazelles, you find the bait fish, you're going to find usually those predatory, those game fish. With that being said, we'll jump into some of the baits, and my favorite bait is a gotcha. Probably no surprise to anybody there that fishes for Spanish or blues or anything like that, but I do like fishing the gotchas in either 7/8 ounce or 5/8 ounce. Those are usually my two favorites. I will say I don't run a steel leader. I usually use a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader. I know you're going to lose some baits. I lose some baits. You're going to get cut off. But with that being said, I've just found the catch ratio over the years is a lot higher using a fluorocarbon or a mono leader versus that steel leader. Another bait that's it's identical really to the gotcha is the Tsunami Zigzag Pro. The gotcha is made by Sea Striker, and the Zigzag Pro is made by Tsunami. You can find these at Walmart. If you got any Walmart near the coast, wherever you're at, they're going to carry these Tsunami baits. The only thing I don't like about the Tsunami baits is you can see this one right here. It's got quite a few fish on it. I actually caught a really nice redfish on it. It's about 24.5 inches. But you can see where this wire has been out right here. And the reason being, I don't think the wire system that runs through the Zigzag Pro is as strong as the one that runs through the gotcha. With that being said, the gotcha, I think, has a little bit stronger wire system running through it, but the difference in these baits, the gotcha is a little bit wider bait, where this has a narrower profile, and I think a number of times that narrow profile makes the difference. I don't know why that is, but if I have my druthers on the two, I actually prefer the Zigzag Pro when they're feeding on those glass minnows, little fish like that. I also like the Gotcha Pro series right here. This is one of those, got a little bit different profile and a little bit different action in the water, but it's usually got this prism finish. That's another good one that I like. And then I also like the diamond jigs, or just these metal jig type baits. You can see this one here. If you can see it, it's all chewed up and beat up. Caught quite a few fish on it. I had some others like it, but got cut off and lost them, things like that. But I like these thin blade style baits. These are little 1/2 ounce baits right here, or just this little cotton cordell one right here. And usually on the cotton cordell ones, they come with this little teeny treble hook. It sucks, so I always replace it with a bigger treble hook, and that is a number 6 KVD wide gap treble hook on there. So anyway, those are some of the baits. Oh, and I'll say too, when you really get into these fish, this is one I was using down there. You can see how beat up it is and chewed up. I mean, they chewed the lead on the head there, and the bait is actually, if you can see it, it's bowed a little bit because where they were hitting it, and they crushed the sides in and stuff. So they're hard on baits, which I think that's why I love targeting Spanish mackerel. I mean, I love to catch them, love to eat them. They're easy to clean, and they're just a hard fighting fun fish. With that being said though, let's get in to the catch portion of this at the beach. So I'll show you several different mornings of footage here, but this particular morning you can see some lightning off to the east of the direction I'm walking, but it was about 15 miles away, not a threat. But you can see what makes this area good right out of the gate. You've got this rough surf and beach break on one side, calm comb on the other. It forms a point at the end of this long sandbar that just always has a really strong rip current there, and it really draws in the bait fish and the game fish. So you can see this point right here forms a really nice area to fish. Reason being, you've got this surf and this current coming in from one direction, and at this particular morning the tide was going out the opposite direction, so it forms this kind of crease right there you can see towards the middle of the screen. It's just a fantastic area that really bunches up the bait fish, and the game fish are normally nearby. So get hooked up with the first Spanish of the morning, and I use one of the blade jigs for that, or this particular one I should say, and it was one of those mornings when it was kind of, you know, non-stop on the bite. As long as you could get in that little crease out there right next to those bait fish, it was one Spanish and some ladyfish mixed in after another. So guys, I think one of the most helpful things you can do before you go to an area to fish you haven't been to before, especially when it comes to surf fishing, is getting on Google Maps or another satellite imaging service like that and being able to just check out miles and miles of beach before you get there. You're going to be able to see big sandbars, troughs, hopefully areas that are going to have those rip current type situations. It's one of those deals where I know it's going to change from big storm to big storm, but you're going to find some general areas. It's going to narrow it down that you'll be able to get into somewhere like this. I found this area originally on Google Maps, just looking at it, or Google Earth I should say, and you know, it was just one fish after another when the conditions were right. Conditions were right. What I mean by that is this area seemed to be with that tide coming in, or not the tide, but the current coming in and that tide coming out, and then where those two types of water met, it was Katie bar the door for several different mornings that I went out there. Now, not every morning was a super hot bite, but every time I went out there, I did catch fish, and you can see here that it's just kind of one Spanish after another. Started out with some small Spanish, and then it moved into a little bit bigger class of fish. You could tell that a little bit bigger group of fish had moved in as far as size-wise goes, but absolute blast. And of course, you've always got your ladyfish mixed in there. Here's a ladyfish. I know not a lot of guys badmouth them. They hate them, trash fish. I know they're no good to eat, but I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love catching them. Poor man's tarpon, they call them that for a reason. I mean, they pull super hard, put on a show, usually jumping, and they are just an absolute blast to catch. So I don't mind, you know, catching ladyfish mixed in with the other fish, because they are just, I think they're so much fun. I mean, here's another one here, and you can see it's jumping, and you know, it's putting on a show, pulling super hard. They're just a fish that I know guys say they'll wreck gear and things like that, which I know they do. I don't care if I lose some baits or I get some leaders torn up by ladyfish, because as long as I'm catching fish, it's a blast, I think. And it's one of those deals where you just gotta roll with it, and as long as I'm catching fish, I'm happy. Guys, I want you to pay attention to this piece of footage here. You can see the tide is moving out from left to right on the screen, but yet that break of that surf is coming in from the right side. So you got kind of this, I don't know if you want to call it confused seas, but it just forms that really nice rip, that really nice hard trough of current running down through there. And you see something like this, and it is definitely a place you want to check out, stop, and fish. So the great thing about fishing a gotcha is you catch a little bit of everything. I caught Spanish, ladyfish, some bluefish, caught a nice red one day that was about 24 inches, and a whole bunch of these little white trout, or sand trout, some people call them. I think a gotcha is a super versatile lure, and it's one I think guys sleep on because they think it's just for Spanish and blues. So one other thing I'll mention, guys, is the cadence that you work these gotchas or any other type of blade jig or diamond jig at. You know, a lot of times you just cannot move it fast enough to get it away from these fish. They will hammer it the faster it moves. And I usually use a really quick cadence when I'm starting out, like a real quick, like a pop, 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 just as fast as I can jerk that rod tip and reel up the slack and get it back in. Now there's times that you'll have to vary that up, and they may want a slower cadence with it, or they may want something that is kind of a stop-start. But 9 times out of 10, especially when they're really worked up on these bait fish, these mackerel and blues and other fish like that are really aggressive on these fast-moving lures, you just cannot move that bait fast enough to get it away from them. And the faster you move it, it seems like the more it fires them up. So I get asked about color choice a lot. for surf fishing, and honestly, when it comes to these fast moving baits, I think chrome is the way to go. The only other time I'll vary it up is sometimes I'll use gold or a bronze color whenever it's overcast or low light conditions, or you got the murky water and the low light conditions. But 9 times out of 10, I stick with that chrome color. Seems to be the money color. When that fast bite does die down, I like to use a lot of times this lure here, and that is a 4-inch Berkeley Gulp on a 1/4 ounce jig head. That's what I caught this Spanish on. Caught quite a few others on that over the course of the couple weeks we were down there, and it'll do the job for you too, for sure. So let's get to the next part, filleting this Spanish mackerel. First cut's going to be a 45-degree angle right behind the head of the pectoral fin. Let your blade go down till you feel it hit the spine. Once it does that, about a 10-degree angle, running all the way down the spine to the fork of the tail. Nice and easy, you don't have to press hard. We're going to roll the fish over here, and the next cut's going to be the same as it was on the other side, all the way down to the spine there. 10-degree angle, let it ride all the way down to the fork of the tail. Remember, these are a soft flesh fish. They don't have scales, they just have skin. I like to leave the skin on for broiling. I think it makes it a lot easier, or grilling, and a lot more flavorful, honestly. This next cut here, what I'm doing is just cutting these pin bones out. There's just a few little ones right underneath the dorsal fin at the top of the fillet. So I'll take my time doing that. It just makes it easier that you don't have to do more prep when you're going to cook them later on. Next cut here is going to be right underneath the ribs, just a nice angle cut underneath the ribs to get those out of there. You can save the rib pieces. You can use them for strip bait, or you can actually flip them over and you can get a little bit of meat off the back side of those as well. So we got one fillet done there. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other fillet here. I will mention too, you can kind of see in the background image I've got here, I like to vacuum seal all my fish to bring home. It's a lot easier to transport them like that, and they'll keep for a lot longer than what folks think they will if they're well sealed, especially vacuum sealed. So I made these cuts here at the top of this fillet, got those pin bones out, a little extra trim there just to make sure I've got them all, and then we're going to make one more cut here, an angle cut, to get those ribs out of there. The next step here, we're going to get into broiling these, which is my favorite way to cook them. I like them grilled, but I think broiled is an excellent way to showcase the meat on a Spanish mackerel. So now we have 2 Spanish mackerel fillets ready to hit the broiler. Let's get to it. So we have our Spanish mackerel. We went through the catching, the cleaning, now here we are to the cooking. So what I like to do is I like to broil my mackerel. You can cook them a lot of different ways. You can broil them, grill them, bake them. You can even fry them. I don't recommend frying them just because they're an oily fish and they make that breading kind of soggy, but I mean, you do you if you like that. But my favorite way is this way, and like I said, that's broiling these. So I've got my broiler pan. If you don't have a broiler pan, you can use just a regular baking sheet, and that's pretty simple there. But the broiler pan lets the heat circulate a little bit more. So I've already taken my extra virgin olive oil, the spray, sprayed the pan just to get it good and greased up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just use the olive oil on top here, and we're going to baste all these to get that seasoning to stick there. So we're just going to baste all our fillets here with just a good coating of olive oil. And that'll cook in too. You can also use butter if you want, but the thing you got to watch about butter, it's got a low burn point. So when you turn this broiler on here, and we're going to set this broiler on high, it has a tendency to want to burn. So that's why I like something with a higher burn point like this olive oil. It doesn't want to burn like the butter does. So we've got this all basted up here with our olive oil. Now what I like here is the, I think it's Paul Prudhomme Blackened Redfish Magic. That's my favorite. I also like this one, if you know stale cracker, the Cajun two-step, that's a good one too. You can use any kind of seasoning that you want, but I prefer this Redfish Magic right here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take it and just shake it on nice and liberally here to all these. So we're going to get that going on right here, and I might even use the brush here in a second, kind of brush up the fillets a little more. So we got a good coating of that on there. Kind of take this and brush that in to get an even coat up and down all the fillets, just like that, nice and easy. All right, we got them all brushed here. I think they're ready to go. Now we're going to set our broiler to high here and get these bad boys in the oven. So I've got the oven on high on the broiler. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to stick them in on that top rack. And just remember, you got to have that top rack set about 6-8 inches from that top element right there. And what we're going to do is, we'll get those in there. We're just going to go 5 to 7 minutes or so with the broiler on high. When you get about 4 or 5 minutes into your cooking, just remember, check your fish. Just take a fork and poke it a little bit there, or you just want it to be opaque. Whenever it flakes apart real easy, it's done. So you don't want to overcook it. So make sure you check it about 4 or 5 minutes into the cooking. So guys, if you're wondering what the clicking and clacking is, it sounds like popcorn in the background. Just to let you know real quick, my girls here, Bree, and there's the loud drinker, Luna, our 2 boxers. Yeah, hi Luna. Say hi to everybody. That's what's making the clicking and clacking as we're cooking. So you probably wonder what that sound was. All right guys, so we're about 6 minutes into our cook right here, and I think they're gonna be done. We're gonna take them out and check them real quick. You can poke them while they're in there, but I'm gonna burn my hand on that top element. So, get you guys over here and take a quick look. Get my fork here. And I'll let you guys, come on in here. I'll let you guys see real quick what we're talking about. So I'm gonna take one, like right here, if I break it open, see how it's white and opaque and it's just flaking right there, coming apart in those little ridges. These fish are done and ready to go. So guys, here's the end product of our Spanish mackerel. Catch, clean, and cook. Spanish mackerel broiled with some Cajun seasoning, so good it really doesn't need a side dish. If you guys like this and got something out of today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also hit that bell notification button. Maybe leave me a like and a comment down below. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much, and remember, until that next video, get out there and fish!